So how would I rank the 10 Best Actor Oscar winners of the 2000s? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. It is indeed time to rank Best Actor of the 2000s decade. Which of these victories do I love? Which ones do I not like so much? Let's start with number 10, Jeff Bridges' Crazy Hearts.
My daddy, he had this old Washburn steel string. He couldn't play a lick on it. I picked it up, started fooling with it.
So the final win of that decade, I'm not a big fan of. I adore Jeff Bridges, of course, and I'm happy he has an Oscar in his house. I'm happy he has won an Oscar at some point in his long career. He was nominated all over the place, starting in the 70s with 2 nominations, and then he's nominated in the 80s. He gets a nomination for The Contender. He gets a nomination for Hell or High Water. He's nominated the year after Crazy Hearts for True Grit, which I think is a better performance. Would have been a better win for Jeff Bridges. That's just my opinion, but I like his performance in Crazy Heart. This is not a terrible Oscar victory. I just think compared to the other 9 for this decade, this is very much a career Oscar for Jeff Bridges. He didn't win because he gave one of the best performances of 2009. He won because of who he is, because the competition wasn't overly fierce that year. And I think everybody just said, you know what, Crazy Heart is fine. You know, some people liked it more than others. They liked him in it. They said, this is the year we finally give Jeff Bridges his Oscar trophy. And that's well and good. You know, that happens here and there. I don't really hate career Oscar wins as long as the movie and performance aren't terrible, you know, god awful. Jeff Bridges does what he needs to do in that movie. I just think he's not the strongest in that category. One of my favorite films of all time is A Single Man. And Colin Firth should have won Best Actor at the Oscars that year. Not for The King's Speech a year later. I think his Oscar win should be for A Single Man. And it was weird for me that season to see Jeff Bridges just winning everywhere when you had that amazing performance by Firth in A Single Man. Thankfully, Firth did win Best Actor that season at BAFTA. He won Best Actor there, but everywhere else he had to just be a nominee, and that never felt right. I think the wins for Bridges and Firth should have been swapped. I think Firth should have won at the Oscars for A Single Man, and then Bridges should have won his Oscar a year later for True Grit.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for turning me on to such a groovy profession.
Number 9, Shawn Penn, Mystic River.
Thanks for finding my daughter's killer, Shawn. If only you'd been a little faster.
So kind of like Jeff Bridges in early 2010, he was overdue for an Oscar victory. It was the same thing for Shawn Penn in early 2004. He had been nominated all over the place the previous decade for Dead Man Walking and Sweet and Low Down and I Am Sam. He was on his 4th nomination for Mystic River. And Shawn Penn was one of those dynamite dramatic actors who everybody felt should win an Oscar at some point. Mystic River got into Best Picture, Best Director. It won Best Supporting Actor for Tim Robbins. So it made sense, especially now looking back, why Shawn Penn won that night. And he's very good in Mystic River. This is not a bad win. There is not one terrible win in this video I'm talking about. There's not 1 or 2 where I'm like, oh my god, how did they win an Oscar for that piece of shit performance? I'm not going to say that here. I'm just ranking the 10 in terms of preference, like some I love more than others. I don't hate any of these. Don't think because I have Shawn Penn for Mystic River way at the bottom that I don't like that performance. He's good in that film. He's got a couple really memorable moments. He's chilling at times, especially at the end. That moment where he is just screaming. He knows that his daughter is dead and there's nothing he can do about it. He's very effective in that movie, and this win makes sense, but my preference for the winner that night would have been Bill Murray for Lost in Translation. I think that is a wonderful performance. I think because Bill Murray is not transformative in that, he looks like Bill Murray, and it's not like an overly dramatic role. He's not crying the way that Shawn Penn is in Mystic River. Bill Murray was on his first nomination that night. He still has never been nominated since. So it was going to be tricky for Murray to overtake Penn there. Like, I get that. I just think the performance that has lasted more these last 2 decades plus has been Murray in Lost in Translation. That's a movie I watch all the time. Mystic River, like, is anybody really revisiting that? Do people really care that much now about Shawn Penn's work in that movie? I think people are appreciative of that performance, but there's not a lot of passion for it now, the way there is still, I would say, for Bill Murray in Lost in Translation, especially since Shawn Penn wins again 5 years later in the same category at the Oscars. I would have gone in early 2004 for Bill Murray.
God, I really thank Clint Eastwood, professionally and humanly, for coming into my life.
Number 8, Russell Crowe, Gladiator.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
All right, I might have lost a few of you. You might be like, what? Number 8, Russell Crowe? Yeah, I've talked about it a lot on this channel. I made a video about Gladiator at the Oscars a few weeks ago. I don't much care for that movie. I never have liked Gladiator. I've tried to watch it 3 times, and I am just bored stiff the entirety of that movie. I don't understand what everybody loves about it. Now, I can separate the performance from the film. Even though I don't much care for Gladiator, I can say that Russell Crowe does a very good job in that film. It's a very commanding performance. He definitely inhabits that character really well. He has this tremendous, towering presence about him that Paul Mescal could not bring to Gladiator 2, right? This was Russell Crowe firing on all cylinders, really doing everything he could to make that character shine in that film. He's very good in it. This is an Oscar win that makes sense to me. I would have given Russell Crowe the Oscar victory a year later for A Beautiful Mind. I think that's his best performance on film, even though A Beautiful Mind I don't love very much. Like, I like it more than Gladiator. I don't really care for that movie that much either. I think the performance, like the arc of the character he plays in A Beautiful Mind, is a bit more interesting to me, so that would have been a good win too. Even though Russell Crowe getting the Oscar for Gladiator is fine. That's perfectly fine to me. I don't hate on that win. I would have given Tom Hanks a 3rd victory for Castaway. My favorite Tom Hanks performance might be Castaway. I think he is freaking amazing in that movie. That is unlike any other performance ever committed to film. I know it was going to be very hard for Tom Hanks to win a 3rd in just about 7 years' time in Best Actor at the Oscars. That was going to be unprecedented, but I do think it would have been deserved. I think Tom Hanks in Castaway, that should have been the Best Actor Oscar winner for 2000.
But really, folks, I owe this to one bloke, and his name is Ridley Scott.
Number 7, Shawn Penn, Milk.
Once and for all, let's break down the myths and destroy the lies and distortion.
Shawn Penn again, right? He wins his 2nd Best Actor Oscar trophy just 5 years after his first for Mystic River. I definitely prefer his victory for Milk. That's a movie I very much appreciated in the fall of 2008. I feel like I loved it more then than I do now. Like spoiler alerts. The only movie I'm talking about in this entire video I actually own back here on my DVD Blu-ray shelf is Milk. I bought that Blu-ray in the spring of 2009, and that's the only one I have back there. I don't even have There Will Be Blood. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I was like, how do I not own that? Thankfully, I'm doing a Paul Thomas Anderson rewatch leading up to One Battle After Another, so I am going to get There Will Be Blood very soon. But I really did enjoy Milk a lot at the time. Gus Van Sant directing, Dustin Lance Black wrote the screenplay, won an Oscar himself, gave that amazing all-timer speech that meant a lot to me at that time. I had just come out of the closet a couple years before.
And that very soon, I promise you, you will have equal rights federally across this great nation of ours.
And so Milk doing as well as it did at the Oscars, winning original screenplay, winning Best Actor, I was very happy about that. But weirdly, like 15 plus years later, it's not Shawn Penn I would have preferred to have won that night, especially since he already had one. I don't think Shawn Penn needed to win too. I do prefer his performance in Milk. That's a very transformative performance. He really does become Harvey Milk in that movie, and he's very good. Like, it's one of the best Shawn Penn performances, I think. It's definitely the kind of performance that makes sense to win an Academy Award. It's Shawn Penn in Milk. I just think looking back now, all these years later, the winner that night should have been Mickey Rourke for The Wrestler. I think that would have lasted extremely well, especially since like he never had another shot. This was his only chance to win an Oscar, Mickey Rourke. He's so freaking good in Darren Aronofsky's film. He won at the Golden Globes. He won at BAFTA. He came close. He had a shot to win there, and I just think that would have been a moment. Mickey Rourke winning the Oscar for Best Actor, like having spent years and years in movie jail and doing terrible films for a long time, that would have been really cool, and I think looking back now, Mickey Rourke would have been the better winner here than Shawn Penn. But if Shawn Penn has to have an Oscar win for either Mystic River or Milk, my preference is absolutely Gus Van Sant's Milk.
And I want it to be very clear that I do know how hard I make it to appreciate me often.
Number 6, Forrest Whitaker, The Last King of Scotland.
And I want to promise you, this will be a government of action. Not of words.
So this was the one I forgot. I was going through the list in my head this morning and I got to 9 very fast and I'm like, wait, who am I forgetting? It took me a moment. I was like, oh, 2006, Forrest Whitaker, The Last King of Scotland. He's the one I forgot in the 10. And so for that reason, basically, I was like, I can't have him in the top 5 if I can't even remember him very quickly, even though he is phenomenal in that movie. He completely blew me away in that, playing that real-life tyrant, that dictator. He totally loses himself in that guy. I mean, talk about a transformative performance that wins an Oscar. He was basically undeniable that season. Even though the movie is not in Best Picture, Best Director, the film itself doesn't do very well during award season, but Forrest Whitaker gives such a commanding performance in that. On Oscars night, it was like, yeah, there's some other good performances here. I really like that nomination for Ryan Gosling and Half Nelson. That was inspired. I'm so happy he got in for that. But I'm not taking away Forrest Whitaker's victory here. Starting now in this video, I'm not swapping with anyone else. The top 6 wins in this category for that decade, they all can stay. I am perfectly fine with all of them. I mean, you look at any one scene in The Last King of Scotland with Forrest Whitaker, and you're like, damn, like that is acting with a capital A. He's very good in that film. This is a solid victory at the Oscars for Best Actor.
Who's given me this moment in this lifetime that I will hopefully carry to the end of my lifetime into the next lifetime. Thank you.
Number 5, Jamie Foxx, Ray.
Look, Ray, let's not do nothing stupid.
I might be blind, but I ain't stupid. Q, get my bag from upstairs.
What?
Get it!
Right now?
Now!
So I might have ranked this one a little bit higher, but I don't know about you. I got really annoyed with his speeches that award season where he made the audience sing with him. Like, sing along with him at every single acceptance speech. To the point where Jake Gyllenhaal, a year later, wins Best Supporting Actor for Brokeback Mountain at BAFTA, and he tries to do that with the audience, and he fails spectacularly.
I kind of wanted to go, hey! But
like, only Jamie Foxx could get away with that, and it was cute the first time. By Oscars night, it was like, oh my god, we have to do this again. Like, he's gonna do it again. Here we go. It was a foregone conclusion. Jamie Foxx was winning that night. I mean, he got into Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars that year for Collateral. a leading performance. He is in all of that movie, basically. He gets into supporting actor for Collateral. He's winning everywhere for Ray. Like, that was going to happen 100%. What a stacked year that was for Best Actor, 2004. I mean, 2 all-timer performances didn't even get nominated at the Oscars. Jim Carrey for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Paul Giamatti for Sideways. How did Paul Giamatti not get into the Oscars for that incredible performance in Sideways? That still just baffles me to this day. Like, Sideways got into picture, director, supporting actor, supporting actress. It got in all over the place. It won adapted screenplay. The best thing about Sideways is the Paul Giamatti performance. How do you not nominate that? I don't know. That was weird for me. Some things about Best Actor that year I wasn't too happy with. But the winner, Jamie Foxx for Ray, of course. That's a great performance, a great win. Anyone who saw Ray walked out and said, that man is winning an Academy Award. I said it out loud. When I left the theater, I was like, I think he's winning for that. And he did. It's not a film I have revisited much lately. I kind of want to watch it again. It's been a long time. It's absolutely Jamie Foxx's best performance in the movies. I've liked him in other things. He's really good in Collateral. But his performance as Ray Charles, that was pretty stunning. Because Jim Carrey and Paul Giamatti are not nominated there, like, there's no one else in the category for Best Actor 2004 I would have preferred win over Jamie Foxx. Foxx deserved that victory, and I'm very happy putting this win in my top 5.
Sidney Poitier said, I saw you once, and I looked in your eyes and there was a connection. And he says, I give to you responsibility. So I'm taking that responsibility tonight.
Number 4, Denzel Washington, Training Day.
You gonna jack me now? You gonna take my own money from me, huh?
I told you that's my evidence. You wanna go to jail, you wanna go home.
I wanna go home, Jake.
So here is an Oscar win for Best Actor. At the time, I didn't love. I was kind of expecting Russell Crowe to win for A Beautiful Mind. That would have been well-deserved, even though he had just won the year before for Gladiator. As I talked about earlier in this video, I feel like his Oscar victory should have been for A Beautiful Mind, but as the years have gone on, I've come to really appreciate that Oscar win for Denzel Washington in Training Day. I love that it's kind of a villainous performance. It's not the kind of role we always see him play. He's kind of delicious as that bad cop. He's so much fun to watch, and that this performance is Denzel Washington's Oscar win in Best Actor. I mean, it's kind of inspired now, all of these years later. I hope he wins a third at some point. Denzel Washington should have 3, but if he's going to only win for 2, Glory in Supporting Actor and Training Day in Lead Actor, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of great. And in terms of memorable Oscar wins of that decade, Denzel Washington for Training Day is one of my favorites. That moment he shares with Sidney Poitier. It's one of the greatest Oscar moments of the 2000s. I'm happy that moment exists. I'm happy Denzel Washington won a second Oscar trophy. It would feel really weird if to this day he still only had that one victory in supporting for Glory in 1990. That wouldn't feel right to all of us. He should have at least 2. So the Training Day victory, I like it a lot. I especially nowadays think it's a pretty solid win in Best Actor. Denzel Washington is, of course, one of the all-time greats. And so, yeah, 2 victories for him at the Oscars makes sense. It should, at this point, be 3. I don't know about you.
I'll always be chasing you, Sidney. I'll always be following in your footsteps. There's nothing I would rather do, sir. Nothing I would rather do.
Number 3, Adrien Brody, The Pianist.
No! 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 Don't shoot! I'm Polish! Please! Oh, I'm Polish!
So if you were old enough to watch that Oscars ceremony live in early 2003, you will remember what a shocker it was for Adrien Brody to win Best Actor. Nobody was really predicting that. He hadn't taken a single precursor prize all season. From the Globes to SAG and BAFTA, Adrien Brody wasn't winning shit. And he was young, he was 29, he would have been like the youngest Best Actor Oscar winner ever. So it didn't seem likely. It made sense that Best Actor was going to Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, or Jack Nicholson for About Schmitz. Day-Lewis made the most sense. This is before he wins for There Will Be Blood in Lincoln. He still had only had the one victory for My Left Foot. It had been more than a decade, and he won at SAG. So I was predicting Day-Lewis. That made sense. Gangs of New York had 10 nominations, including picture and director. It didn't seem likely to win anything else. So Day-Lewis in Best Actor for his tremendous villainous performance in that. Like, I thought that was going to happen. And then Halle Berry said Adrien Brody, and I was like, what? Whoa, how did that happen? It kind of came out of nowhere. Now, not everything to do with Adrien Brody's moment, winning his Oscar for The Pianist, has aged very well, right? There's controversy in what he did as soon as he got up on the stage, but consider the surprise of that victory and consider the performance. He is phenomenal in The Pianist. That is one of the great performances in the movies in the 2000s. And looking back now, all of these years later, it's like, hell yes, that absolutely should have been Adrien Brody. Here is somebody who I'm happy has two. He is incredible in The Pianist. He is equally incredible in The Brutalist. So just consider the performances. And it's like, yeah, he should have 2 victories in Best Actor. That second win was not a surprise at all, but the first one was a giant shocker. One of the big shockers in Best Actor I've ever seen in my lifetime at the Oscars. It was such a cool moment. Everybody in the room was so thrilled for him. It was the kind of surprise we almost never get anymore in the acting categories. That was one of the big ones. Adrien Brody winning Best Actor for The Pianist.
You know, wait, one second, please. 1 second, cut it out. I got one shot at this.
Number 2, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Capote.
I did everything I could.
Okay.
I truly did.
So one of my favorite performances in the movies of all time is Heath Ledger in Brokeback Mountain. I think he is exquisite in that film. It is sad to me he never won a major prize for that performance. It was weird. In early 2006, Brokeback Mountain was winning Best Picture and Best Director all over the place. Jake Gyllenhaal won Best Supporting Actor at BAFTA, but Heath Ledger could not win a single thing because at every ceremony he was up against Philip Seymour Hoffman's incredible performance as Truman Capote. And it's like, yeah, nobody was stopping Hoffman that season for his amazing work in that film, and I'm not mad about Heath Ledger's loss. I mean, I'm happy Heath Ledger eventually won an Oscar, even if it was a posthumous one for The Dark Knight. It is strange to me now that both Heath Ledger and Philip Seymour Hoffman are gone. It's very sad. It's very like, what? Like, they're both not with us anymore. It's been more than a decade since Philip Seymour Hoffman died, more than 15 years since Heath Ledger died, and the face of cinema has not looked the same. They were 2 of my favorite actors of that era, and that they're both gone really does upset me when I stop and think about it. When I think about Best Actor at the Oscars 2005, for me it was Hoffman versus Ledger, and they're both gone. It's just, I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. I'm happy both men were recognized at the Oscars. I am thrilled Philip Seymour Hoffman won an Academy Award in his lifetime, so well deserved. I mean, he did some remarkable performances throughout the 2000s. He was back nominated again for Charlie Wilson's War and Doubt just a couple years later. I do think his best performance on film is in Capote. Like, talk about transformative. Talk about one scene to the next, just being in full command of his craft. He is so devastating in that film. He made me cry on more than one occasion watching it in the theater. I've watched it one more time. It has been a while. It's just such a sad story. Capote is not a movie I want to put on every 2 or 3 years. You know, it's very sad, kind of like Brokeback Mountain. Both are very, very sad films. Again, I would have liked Heath Ledger to have won an Oscar for Brokeback Mountain. Best Actor that year was totally stacked. Not only Ledger, you also have David Strathairn for Good Night and Good Luck. You had Joaquin Phoenix for Walk the Line. He is amazing in that. What? Terrence Howard, Hustle and Flow? I mean, come on. That is one of the best actor lineups we've had in the last 25 years. But even though everybody is great, everybody is fantastic in that category, including Ledger, who would have been an all-timer victory for Brokeback Mountain, nobody was beating Philip Seymour Hoffman that season. And for good reason. That was the role of a lifetime.
My passions, her passions became my passions, and be proud, Mom, because I'm proud of you, and we're here tonight, and it's so good.
And finally, that takes me to the #1 slots. I mean, this was not a mystery, right? I cannot imagine anybody putting someone else at #1. Maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman, maybe Adrien Brody, but come on, you knew this was coming. My choice for the #1 Best Actor Oscar win of the 2000s is Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood.
Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
What is there to say about this win, this performance? All-timer, right? In the history of the Oscars, going back almost 100 years now, one of the finest Best Actor Oscar victories is absolutely Daniel Day-Lewis for Paul Thomas Anderson's masterpiece, There Will Be Blood. I think this is Day-Lewis's best win. I appreciate his victory for Lincoln. He is, of course, phenomenal in My Left Foot. But his performance as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood is one for the ages, something that from scene to scene just totally mesmerizes you. You have an excellent screenplay, top-notch direction from Paul Thomas Anderson, absolutely spectacular cinematography by Robert Elswit, a really dynamic supporting performance by Paul Dano. He is really good in that too, but there is nothing like watching Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood on that first viewing. I remember sitting in a crowded theater opening night, just being awestruck. I was like, oh my God, I know Daniel Day-Lewis is good. He's really good, but he's never quite been as great as he is in There Will Be Blood. This is a transformative performance unlike any other. He completely inhabits that role. Every choice he makes, from those early moments that don't have any dialogue, all the way to that memorable bowling alley scene at the end. It is just a masterclass of acting, a performance that will live on forever. There's some other very good performances in the category for 2007, but come on, nobody stood a chance against Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. This is one of the great acting Oscar wins of all time, not just in Best Actor of the 2000s, of all time. In any category, going all the way back to the beginning of the Academy Awards, this was an absolute all-timer. Maybe the only surprising thing about that moment was that he doesn't get a standing ovation. He gets one 5 years later for Lincoln, but nobody gets up on their feet to applaud Daniel Day-Lewis winning an Oscar for There Will Be Blood. That's always been kind of shocking to me. I don't know about you, maybe because it was such a foregone conclusion, but it was a foregone conclusion 5 years later for Lincoln. So it's kind of a head scratcher for me. Everybody should be on their feet, but I guess that's okay. It still gets to be one of the great acting Oscar wins ever. Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood, just frickin' wow. Of course, he's my choice for the #1 greatest Best Actor Oscar win of the 2000s.
My father, Cecil Day-Lewis, and my 3 fine boys, Gabriel, Ronan, and Cashel. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below how would you rank Best Actor for that decade at the Academy Awards, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.